Hey, everybody, welcome back to Digital Connections. As I might have mentioned before, we bring in expert advice to connect you with the services and resources to build a successful business and ultimately to create the life of your dreams. This show is for entrepreneurs, business owners, and anyone interested in running a side hustle to their current 9 to 5. One episode at a time, we help you build a successful business through amazing digital connections. I'm your host, Nancy Johnson, a business owner and marketing coach. On my way here, I have found amazing resources that have helped my business grow, and they can help your business thrive too. Everyone needs a friend in digital marketing because digital marketing is about connecting people. So, my friends, today we are recording this episode during the month of April. For those that don't know, April is Stress Awareness Month. And as many of you do know, the mental health and well being of business owners and entrepreneurs is a huge fascination for me. And I am always looking for experts and resources that can help our community in this area. I got into digital marketing to support business owners in the best way that I knew how, which was to get their businesses connected online. And in my journey, what I found is that most business owners are taken down by their own internal monologue. They miss opportunities, they make excuses, they self sabotage, they don't catch the boat in time, and eventually they run out of time. Many times, when a company hires me to do their marketing, I find that they don't have a marketing issue at all. What they have is something else entirely. In fact, it's why I'm friends with so many coaches because a lot of times it's not marketing that a business needs to fix their current issues, but a coach to move their business forward. And one of those coaches is my friend, Taryn Laakso, who told me about this book, Positive Intelligence by Shirzad Shamin. I already knew that I wanted to have her on the show to share her knowledge, but then I read the book and I was seriously blown away. The method that Shirzad introduces is based on a concept called or around PQ. And what shocked me about it was this sudden realization that I had been living with a subtle strain of stress that I no longer needed to consult on a regular basis. Previously, that stress was in charge. It was managing everything that I was doing. It had to because otherwise I might drop the ball. It was a massive relief to let go and to understand that I didn't require the stress in order to be successful. It was also surprising how immediately effective it was at bringing creativity and overall performance to my business. This is kind of jumping the gun and skipping to the end, but there is a ton to unpack in the middle. So, here to chat about what this is, how this works, and why it works is Coach Taryn Laakso. So, Taryn is passionate about igniting a spark in her clients to play bigger in life. She speaks on topics such as positive mindset, mental well being, leadership, and empowerment based on the positive intelligence model. Prior to launching her coaching career, she spent 20 odd years in the corporate HR world. She boldly left her corporate job to launch her own coaching business days before the global pandemic shut everything down. However, her resilient mindset allowed her to pivot her plan. And Taryn's commitment to herself and her vision has created a six-figure coaching business after just 18 months of becoming a full-time business owner. This is empowered leadership. Taryn's superpower is inspiring and supporting professionals to strategically plan their next career shift. She helps clients move from a state of frustration to inspiration. Through group and private coaching, Taryn provides strategies to unlock her clients' superpowers. So, Taryn, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Nancy. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah. All right. So let's start at the beginning here. In your opinion, what is it that gets in the way of someone having both success and happiness?
Short answer, themselves.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's the short answer. We are our own worst enemies. And I say that, I mean, even in your introduction, right? We have these inner thoughts that block us from reaching our full potential. And they're little subtle, sneaky thoughts like, you're not doing enough, or who do you think you are? So this is a bit of the longer answer, right? Our own thoughts get in our way of really showing up and playing a bigger game in our life.
Mm, mhm. So these are what you refer to as, I love this name, by the way, brain bullies, yes?
Exactly. Yeah, our brain bullies. These voices just like to bully us out of playing a bigger game, bully us into thinking that ourselves are not doing enough, or maybe somebody else isn't doing enough. Like, how many stories
Mm,
have we created about a coworker or a boss or an employee of ours or a partner that they need to be doing more, or who do they think they are? Like, it just, the
mm,
quick judgments that we have
yeah.
about ourselves, others, and even situations. I'll be
Mhm.
happier when X, Y, and Z happens. We're
Yeah.
not present, we're not here today.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah,
So I call them
or
brain buzz. Yeah, so sorry, Nancy. So I'm calling them brain bullies because they are bullying us out of our happiness.
yeah, yeah. I think the other big one, at least for me when I started out, it was, well, look at this other person. Look at all they have been able to do, and why have I not been able to do all that, right?
A classic
Sorry, it's
one.
been like
Yeah.
6 months. Guess how long that person's been in business, you
Right,
know?
right, right. I play with that one. I like to affectionately call that one comparison Connie, or just kind of giving it a fun name, because what
Mhm.
it does is, like, you're constantly comparing, and you're not ever saying, like, oh well, actually I'm good enough right now, and
Mm,
I aspire to get to where that other person is.
yeah.
Having it be
Yeah.
inspiration versus judgment that you're not doing enough.
Yeah. Yeah, so the last show that we did, we talked about we were talking about burnout. And
Mm, mhm.
my guest Zovig, she was like, well, it's these voices in your head, which to me it sounds like an awful lot like brain bullies. So
Absolutely.
tell
Yeah.
tell me a bit how they lead to burnout.
Well, the brain bullies, we call them saboteurs, or it's your ego, your smaller self, the survival brain. Um, it leads to burnout because it pushes you. It's a push energy. Like, you need to
Mhm.
be doing more. You will be
Mm.
more successful when. And for a lot of us who are entrepreneurs, business owners, leaders, there's this hyperachiever, like, I must do more to receive those gold stars. And that's a quick way to go to burnout, because we're exhausted trying to do it for others. Or maybe it's like, if I just please everybody else, then the world will be happier, but it's at the
Mm.
cost of our own well-being.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
it's exhausting.
Yeah.
I mean, running your own business is exhausting anyway, and then you're trying to
Mhm.
fight the internal thoughts on a constant basis. Of course, we're
Right.
going to be burned out.
Yeah. Yeah. And the fact is, you can never do it all. But I'll tell
No.
you what, my brain bullies seem to think I should be able to, you know? And, and then I love that one. Why did you sign up for this if you can't do it?
Yeah, who do you think you are? Like, you should never have done this.
Yeah.
How many of us, as you're listening to these thoughts, like, oh yeah, I have that thought. Oh yeah, that sounds familiar. A lot of us
Hmm.
do. All of us have
Yeah.
some degree of this, depending on our mental fitness, on how we intercept them.
Yeah, and I think it's really, really, really vital for new business owners in particular to know that this is part of being a business owner. It's part of being human, I think. But,
Yeah.
I mean, but as business owners, we can really get trapped by it. And so are there ways for new business owners to kind of sustain energy
Mm.
as new business owners, and to kind of move away from these thought processes to maybe better thought processes.
A real easy way, and this is not rocket science. So that's the good news, right? It's like, oh, I
Mm,
have all these thoughts, and what am I going to do? Woe is me. We actually have the ability to intercept it very simply by being very mindful, coming back
mm,
into the present moment, and just little what we call um, a positive intelligence, a PQ rep. And I'll
Mm-hmm.
explain positive intelligence in a moment. But this PQ rep is just coming into the present moment and rubbing your fingertips together so that
Mm,
you feel the sensation of the ridges of your fingertips. And all you're focusing on is that sensation of your fingertips rubbing against one another, or it's focusing on your breath
mm,
and commanding your mind, commanding your thoughts to come into that moment of sensation.
mm-hmm.
So really it's a sensory experience, quieting down the voices. And you can do that for a minute and you're going to feel calmer, your nervous system
Yeah.
calms down, and now you can make a choice, a more conscious choice of what you want.
Yeah. It's almost because mindfulness is something that seems to be a common theme,
Mhm.
just in mental well-being in general. And it seems though that this idea of from that the at least from what I got from PQ, and I love that one with the fingers. Also, I love just the idea of it, you just need 60 seconds, right?
60 seconds.
Just 60 seconds to concentrate on your breathing, and oh my goodness, what a world of difference it can make. And there's almost no one in any situation that can't say, I can't take 1 minute to just walk away from this.
Exactly, because it's costing us a lot more time being in
Mm,
the analysis paralysis or avoiding a hard conversation because we don't want to make somebody uncomfortable. We spend
yeah.
more time worrying about that and making up a story about it rather than just the 60 seconds to maybe 2 minutes of just like breath. I just need to come and focus on my breath.
Yeah.
Like I'm
Yep.
just noting this, like our cadence has slowed down a little bit because we're
Mhm.
more mindful and present in this moment.
Yeah, I love it. That's fantastic. And I think, one of the episodes that I did with a writer was you get to do this, right? It's about he wrote a book called Get to Be Happy, right?
Yes.
And it is really that idea that this is almost it's this is an adventure, right? There is adventure to be had even in some of your darkest moments.
For sure. Well, the image of the roller coaster keeps coming up for me as we're talking, Nancy.
Mhm,
And for many entrepreneurs, there's you're going up the
mhm,
steep part of the roller coaster, and then you're flying down, and then you're climbing back up. And that's just like if we can imagine it's a ride rather than blaming or shaming ourselves when we might be in that lower dip. It was like, well, we know that
mhm.
there's another thing coming up. And self compassion also is an invitation here. Like, how much self compassion do we have for ourselves while we're navigating this journey of building a business?
Yeah. Yeah. I think of like, I remember the first time I read The Hobbit, right? And
Mm.
I remember reading The Hobbit and just being horrified that this poor little hobbit had to go through all of this trauma. Just the horror that the poor hobbit had to experience. But the whole thing, by the time you get to the end of the book and you're like, wow, that was such a cool
And then,
adventure.
yes, like a dragon and a ring and his
Mhm.
community that he ended up gathering. Like, that's
Yeah.
all a part of this journey. And how can we see
Yeah.
it as a gift rather than a challenge?
Yeah, yeah, and then you can't wait to read it again, right? Because it's like, "Oh,
Yeah.
wow, that was really cool," right?
What
But
did we miss the first time? What's new
yeah,
here?
yeah. But wouldn't it be nice if we didn't have to miss it, right? And I think
Yeah.
that's the point of this whole PQ stuff is it lets you slow down enough to actually enjoy that journey as well, right? So on that topic, let's talk about what PQ is, right? Let's kind of switch back and tell the folks a little bit more about positive intelligence in general because I think it's such a cool thing. So
Yeah. Well, and let's start with emotional intelligence, right? We all
mm,
have some level of emotional intelligence, how we relate with one another in the world and how we have conversations. And so people can measure how your EQ is or your IQ, your intellectual intelligence. This is a framework that measures your level of engagement in the world, of like, how do you see the world? Are you seeing it as the glass half full or half empty? And this is not like toxic positivity. It's how we see a challenge and how we want to shift it into a new perspective. So
Mm,
what we're doing here is building new neural pathways in the
mm,
brain to raise that ability to get a new perspective on a situation. So you're raising your positive intelligence score. And there's a way you can measure your score of how much PQ you have or not have. Most of us need a 3-to-1 ratio of 3 positives to 1 negative to just counteract the constant barrage of negative
mm.
thoughts that are coming into our thought patterns. And so by building new mental muscles, you're able to intercept when those negative thoughts come in. And it just is a measure of how strong your mental muscles are
Mm,
to face the challenges that we are constantly being bombarded with on a regular
yeah,
basis.
yeah. I love that term. What was it? Toxic positivity. As soon as you said it, it's like, oh yeah, I know exactly what that is. Oh, it's gonna be a
It's
great
just
day.
gonna be fine. It's like, well, I'm actually kind of sad right now. It's like, how long? Yeah, you get to have your emotions in this whole journey, right?
Hmm.
You can be sad, you can have anger, you can have resentment, you can have frustration, you can have joy, you can have bliss. There's a whole range of these emotions that a lot of people choose to not even engage with. It's like I'm happy, sad, or mad. Like those are the
Mm,
3 general ones.
hmm.
So this is about exploring what is it that you're feeling right now, honoring it, and then saying, and how do I want to be in relationship with it going forward? Like, how does it want to
Ah,
impact me? How does it want to impact the choices I want to make? So one of the great metaphors I use is like, if you put your hand on a hot stove, how long do you want to leave it there before it burns you and causes injury?
yes.
Right?
Hmm.
So we're always going to have some sort of emotion. How long do you want to be there is your choice. And
Yeah.
now we just get to decide, oh, I'm aware it's hot. I'm going to pull my hand back. But what's underneath it? Getting curious. What's underneath this?
I loved that metaphor in the book. That was actually the moment that I realized I had been
Mhm.
leaving my hand on the stove, and how long had it been on the stove, and what kind of damage had I done internally. And we know that, right? A constant level of stress is just not physically good for you. It can actually do physical damage to your well-being.
Right? Your
And
cortisol levels start skyrocketing,
yes.
right? The stress
Mhm,
hormones. And what we're introducing is more serotonin. So just a quiet, like calming down the nervous system so you can
mhm.
react from your executive functioning part of your brain rather than the reptilian fight or flight part of your brain.
Yeah. And I think that's a really good analogy as well. I remember when I was little and touching the hot stove, and my mother telling me that's not a good idea, and I remember going back and putting my hand on the stove just
Right.
to just to see, right? But what a great metaphor that we don't have to do that, right? We don't have to continue to do that. And I think that's what I loved about this book, is just that overall arching concept that, guess what? When you touch the stove, it's meant to
It's a
there's a
warning.
reason that it's hot. There's a reason that it hurts. There's a reason, but it does not have to continue on. And now you can actually do something about it. But if you leave your hand there and you live in that stress, you can't, there's so much less that you can do.
Yeah.
Right. And it's not, I love, that's what I loved most about this, was the immediate release of being able to think clearly and to be able to reason through a situation without that fear or that stress or the anger or the whatever was associated there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm going to and bring that word self-compassion back into this conversation
Mm,
because just recognizing that we have been burned, a lot of us don't even notice that part of it. And so there's compassion, like, ouch, that experience really impacted me rather than passing over it.
mm,
And then getting curious of going like, well, what was it that upset me about it? And now how do I want to approach it? Do I want to have a
Mm.
conversation with somebody else? Do I just need to give a lot of self-compassion to myself and to somebody else? Do I just want to acknowledge it, that it happened? So I think oftentimes we just bypass. And so this work is about intercepting those challenges, those reactions. And I'll say this again, the curiosity. What do I want to do next with this?
Mm. Mhm. So you've talked about playing with your saboteurs.
Mhm.
And my question for you is, should you really be playing with these things? I mean, that sounds
Well,
a little dangerous if you ask me.
on the surface, yes, it can be dangerous. What we know is that when you bring playfulness and curiosity and empathy into the conversation with yourself and others, it
Mm.
takes you out of that fight or flight space. So, one way I play with the thoughts is I have, so there's an assessment one can take. I have it on my website. I'll share it later, but you can take an assessment to find out who your top saboteurs are. The top saboteurs that try and hijack my happiness, my success, and my performance is there's a judge. And we all have some sort of form of a judge. The other one is a hyperachiever. So the voice of the hyperachiever likes to tell me thoughts of you're not doing enough, you're not good enough. You will do better when you receive this amount in your business,
Mm.
or you'll have this many clients. That's when you're going to be good enough. So I play with this one by saying, "Oh, okay, hi, hyperachiever. You're here again to tell me I'm not doing enough. So this is actually a sign for me that I get to rest right now because I don't need to be on this hamster wheel anymore. Like I get to have permission to rest because look what I have done so far." So there's
Mm.
just a permission to be like, "Oh, you're here again to push me harder. Thank you, but I'm gonna actually take a nap right now because I'm tired." Like it's okay. It's okay to rest.
Uh, all right. So on the subject of play,
Mhm.
so there's creativity is really kind of related to the same sort of thing,
Mhm,
right? If I'm able to
mhm.
just stop and laugh a little bit, or just let go of those things, that creativity finds a way to flow, right? So tell me how you're using this in your business and in your world.
The creativity. So, oh gosh, that's such a it's a good question and I'm feeling a little stumped. So I'm gonna just hold space for like, how do I bring this in? Because the hyperachiever is like, you do it in 500 different ways. So talk about just pick one of them and talk about it. Um, and that's okay. Like I'm honoring that. It's like, all right, it showed up in the judgment of like, I'm
Mhm.
not really answering your question right now. Like this is real and raw. We're like real time. Like this is the thought processes of Taryn right now. Um, so back to the question, if I can get focused on that, is creativity and playfulness is like dancing in the moment. When I'm with my
Mm.
clients, meeting them where they're at in their conversations and being really curious, and creating from like an idea that gets downloaded from wherever, universe or spirit, whatever you want to call it, and offering it up and just seeing where it goes, like not being
Mm.
fixed on having the right answer all the time, and just
Yeah.
creating from what is, co-creating from the conversation. So that's how I bring in curiosity and my sage wisdom rather than I have to have all the right answers right now for my clients to feel like
Mm.
they're getting the value. Actually, I like to chuck that out and just be like, what needs to be created now from what is.
Yeah.
It's permission for improv. It's for
Yeah.
playful.
I think it's also permission to actually listen, right? Because
Mhm.
if you're really here and you're with the people that are in the room with you, and you're not so concerned with what's the next thing I'm going to do, and you're allowing creativity to come and follow in that conversation, it is so much more, and you learn so much more about that other person. But additionally, it's almost like a gift, right? Because we're always, or at least I am a lot of times, I'm always like, okay, and okay, and the next and next and next, you know, and if I can just sit back and listen to the other person and not worry about that piece of it, and realize that creativity is going to be there when I need it, or the question will be there when I need it. It gives me an opportunity, like just now, right? I'm like, okay, I'll just sit back and I'll listen to what Terrence got to say, tell
I'm
me
just gonna
about it.
improv this. Yeah.
Sure. So, and it feels fantastic though to not have that weight in a conversation. It feels fantastic to just be able to listen to the other person fully as well. And I think
Mhm.
that's what this process and the system, and the new neural pathways that you start to create, I think it really lends to that quite well.
It's a one of the key superpowers that we introduce in this framework is deep listening, deep exploration, deep
Mm,
curiosity. Those are what will transform the conversations you're having with yourself and others.
mm,
And if we're all having these meaningful conversations, it elevates everyone up
yeah,
in the world.
yeah. And it can have a huge impact on your business, because when your staff, when you're the people that are in coexistence and building something together, they actually start to feel like they're building something together. What a concept.
Yeah, there's alignment, there's synergy and energy coming together
Mm,
because it's being co-created rather than just one person having all the answers. How many of us feel like the pressure is on us to figure this all out?
yeah,
There's too
yeah.
much of that, and inviting in this idea of, well, what does somebody else have to say and how can I create from that?
Mhm.
But you have to
Mhm.
listen, to your point. You have to actually deeply listen to what the other person is saying.
Yeah. All right, so tell me, are there things that still get in your way, or that keep you in that comfort zone, and don't let you, because you're an expert in this, right? I mean, this is what you teach every day,
Absolutely. I
and
just got off the call with my own coach.
mhm,
I highly recommend everybody, if you want to play a bigger game in your business, you are investing in a coach, whether it's me or
mm,
one of your other many wonderful guests that you've had on this show, Nancy.
yeah,
But to play that bigger game, you talk to a coach because they offer perspectives up that you can't see for yourself. And those are
yeah,
invaluable. But I was just talking to her and I was like, I need the hyperachiever to take a vacation right now. I'm hitting that edge of burnout because I've been working so hard for the last 2 years and I just am like I need to take a vacation. I need to rest. I need to not be collecting any more gold stars right now so I can assess what's important in my business.
mm,
So that's how like the saboteurs are showing up right now. It's like, no, you must put out your next offering. You must do like read these 5 books right now, all at the same time, and join the book clubs on them, and
yeah,
grow your learning. Like you have to do all this, and it's like, no, holding a no and going like, what really matters right now?
mhm,
What's the most important thing? It's rest, and rest is really something we need. It's
yeah,
not something we kind of fit into our day,
mhm,
but really having that intention to rest and restore and recharge. So important.
yeah, it is, it's vital. Um, So let's go back to a topic that I started the show off with, which is that stress management piece.
Mhm.
How does all this ultimately, I mean, you've sort of spelled it out a little bit, but how does it help with that overall stress management?
We talked a little bit, right? Cortisol,
Mhm,
right? When we're in
mhm,
high stress, anxiety, fight or flight, the cortisol levels skyrocket. this framework, the positive intelligence, allows us to quiet the mind, quiet the nervous system, and slow down.
Mhm.
Have you heard the phrase, you need to go slow to go fast?
Yes, one of my
Yeah,
favorites.
it's a
Mhm.
great one, right? So the nervous system starts slowing down. You can go faster in making your decisions because you're giving your
Mhm.
executive brain more of a chance to engage.
Yeah.
So that's how we can reduce our stress is by taking
Mm.
these mindful moments throughout the day, not just like I'm going to do an hour-long meditation in the morning and I'm good. It's actually a practice of several times throughout the day,
Mm.
shorter increments, 1 minute,
Mhm.
2 minutes. If you have the luxury, 5 minutes of being mindful and building that practice up. It's going to
Mm.
save you way more time in the long run.
Not only that, but I was just talking to someone earlier today and I loved what she had to say because, I was talking about, oh, I'm starting to get all these clients. I'm not really sure how I'm going to be able, I got to hire people. I've got to start thinking about that. And then she's like, I worried about that for a while. And she goes, you know what? The fact is that now I do it all myself. But the fact is that I've come up with processes. I've come up with ways to actually make this all work. And that's what I love about this is that it makes you so creative that you start being able to see how to get the efficiencies out of what you're doing. You start
Mhm.
seeing that creativity lends to, oh, look, I could do it this way. And wow, how much more efficient is that? I just got the same result for half the time. Wow, that is amazing, right?
I love
But
it.
it is from slowing down and it is from
Mhm.
taking that breath. It's from seeing the situation for what it is. And then your brain can actually do what it's really good at, which is that executive function of let's do this, this, and this. You've got it,
Yeah, the
And it
clarity
sounds so
comes.
simple when I put it like that.
So simple, right? The philosophy of this is very simple, but
Mhm.
how we get into action on implementing it scares people because the saboteurs of like, oh, I can't invest time on this. I don't have time to do
Mm,
this work. My challenge to anyone who has that reason pop up for themselves is you don't have time not to do this work
yeah.
because it will save you time in the long run.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was almost like you were just talking straight to me. Thanks.
You're welcome.
All right. So, and do you have a favorite stress management technique that you
Yes, I
use?
did it today, just this afternoon. I
Yeah.
went for a walk. That is how
Oh,
I just made sure rather than sit down and try and plug through a training, I was like,
mhm,
actually, I'm going to take a walk instead. And I feel more energized and grounded and
mm,
more clarity about what my next step is that I need to do for my business. So that's my
that's
my
right.
my longer one. The short term one is
Mhm,
breath work, just focusing on my
mm,
breath, putting my hand on my heart.
mm. Yeah, love that. All right, so where should people go if they want to understand more about PQ and
Mhm.
they want to start implementing it into their businesses, into their lives? Where can they go to find more information?
Well, I'd love to offer checking my website out. It's tarynlaakso.com, TARYNLAAKSO.com. And I have under the menu, there's mental fitness. So you can take a saboteur assessment and find out what your top saboteurs are. It's a great conversation. And then I'm always inviting people in to do an assessment call with me. Like how does the controller, the stickler, or the pleaser, or the judge show up in your business for yourself?
Mm,
And we do
mhm.
a little deep dive on how your top saboteurs impact how you show up in the world.
I highly, 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 highly recommend it to anyone. And in fact, Taryn, I made you a smaller, tiny URL so people can
Great.
hopefully easily find your quiz. It's tinyurl.com/brain bully quiz. So that is an easy way to find Taryn and to find her quiz, which It really is. It's very short, and it's amazing the amount of information that comes from that very short quiz, really. But and I love that that they get to have a conversation with you to walk through it as well. All right. Well, thank you so much. Is there anything else you want to add before we take off today?
Just so grateful, Nance, that you are having these conversations with business owners, entrepreneurs, because the struggle is real, and yet we don't have to have it be such a struggle. We can have fun
Agreed.
at the same time.
Agreed. So well said. Thanks, Taryn.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right. Before we take off today, I do want to leave our listeners with our marketing tip of the day. Today's show is a great example of what we call pillar content. What that means is that I can take all sorts of subjects that we've talked about in this episode, and I can create content across all sorts of different platforms. So I could do a social media post on stress management and how it helps business owners. I could write a blog post that introduces my audience to the concept of PQ. I could do a quick video on how the information helped me in my business. And all this content came from this one podcast. And that is really just the tip of the iceberg. Pillar content is a great way to create a full content calendar for yourself. Sit down with one of your longer pieces of content and break it down into smaller pieces to share with your customers and prospective clients over the next few weeks. This is how someone can become known as an expert in their industry. And it is also how business owners leverage the knowledge that they have to help the rest of the world. So a huge thank you to my guest today, Taryn Laakso with Unlaaking Your Potential. You can find Taryn and more information about the PQ and Saboteur assessment at tinyurl.com/brainbullyquiz. Please make sure to follow us and subscribe, like us wherever you get your podcasts. You can find this episode and previous shows along with contact information for me and all of our guests at our website, www.digitalconnections.us. Have a great week and tune in next time for another amazing digital connection for your business.